Okay, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us here today. Thanks for taking out time on your Saturday evening and joining this session of Elite CISOs. So as you know, typically we do our sessions on Thursday at 11 o'clock India time. But since the lockdown has been lifted in India, we have also started doing the weekend sessions because we want people to stay indoors and do not go out and socialize because there is always a risk of corona. So these sessions are planned in such a way that, okay, you get something interesting to do over a weekend. Apart from the knowledge, we try to bring different flavors to the session. So as you can see, the title for today's session is Best Practices for Stopping Ransomware. I mean, I don't really have to explain about ransomware and the kind of pandemic we are dealing with in terms of digital pandemic of ransomware. Within the past couple of weeks, you would have seen the SolarWinds and Kaseya ransomware coming in and impacting global organizations, right? So to talk about how do you prevent or stop ransomware affecting your organization, we have two eminent speakers today. Vicky Ray, principal researcher in our Unit 42 of Palo Alto Network, is joining us from Singapore. And we have our very own Rishi Rajpal, Vice President, Global Security at Concentrix. So this session is going to be very interesting. Vicky will talk from a research perspective, what they are seeing in the wild, what they are seeing in the dark web, and what their analysis talks about decoding these ransomwares like the one which was used in, let's say, SolarWinds and Kaseya. So what is their view from the research perspective, right? That's what we will hear from Vicky. And then Rishi will talk from a practitioner or a CISO perspective, right? How do you defend a large enterprise like Concentrix from ransomware kind of attack? So that's what the agenda of today's session is going to be. Let me quickly show you the formal agenda slide, how the flow is going to look like. So it's a quick welcome for initial 5 minutes. We will also have a quiz. If you have attended Elite CISO session in past, you know how the quiz format looks like. And I will again explain about that. And then after the initial introduction, we will have the core session around ransomware prevention by Vicky and Rishi. And then at the end, we have extended a time little bit today, right? So typically we end at 6 o'clock. But looking at the previous webinar experience with Palo Alto, we have seen that there is a lot of interest in terms of people asking questions. So we have extended by 15 minutes because there is a LinkedIn contest as well. And we want to give people time, a breather at the end to ask questions and participate in the contest as well. Okay. So we will have question answer live at the end when the session is done. But during the session, if you have any question that you want to ask, so you can put that question in a Q&A tab. Okay, guys. So on your Zoom interface, you will see there's a Q&A tab and then there is a chat tab. If you have specific questions, please do not put those on the chat. Put it on the Q&A tab so that the panelist from Palo Alto, I think Amit is there. Amit will answer the questions on the Q&A tab itself. Okay. And then I will share the secret for downloading the participation certificate. Now, this phase or this step of downloading the certificate is very important because this certificate will be used in the LinkedIn contest that we are going to do. Okay. And then we will have our typical Wheel of Fortune. And today's giveaway is Apple AirPods. Thanks Palo Alto team for sponsoring the AirPods. So in fact, we have 5 AirPods to give away today. So one will be gone or one will be given as part of the Wheel of Fortune. Other 4 AirPods will be given as part of the LinkedIn contest. Okay, guys, now listen very carefully. We have 155 participants I see right now. The next slide is very important to understand the steps that you have to take in order to participate in this LinkedIn contest. Okay, that's what I'm going to explain next. So be careful, guys, and pay attention here. So first step is to participate in the contest is follow Elite CISO's handle on LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn, search for Elite CISO and follow Elite CISO's handle. Step 2 is follow Palo Alto Networks handle. Okay. So you can go to LinkedIn and search for Palo Alto Networks, follow that handle. And the third step is share a post on LinkedIn. What the post is going to look like? Post should have these elements. You have to upload the participation certificate that you receive from this session, I will explain how you can download the certificate. So you have to upload that participation certificate. You have to share your learnings from the session. So next 40-45 minutes, what Vicky and Rishi are going to talk about from preventing from ransomware kind of thing. So you have to take good notes, right? Now this element we have included so that you pay attention to the session. We have seen in past people are attending 3 webinars at a time. That has happened in the digital world. So we want you guys to stay focused because you are spending 1 hour of your life in this session, right? So we want you to stay focused and take good notes from the session. And then you have to upload your learning on LinkedIn, right? As part of, along with the certificate as well. So I will show you how it looks like. And then you have to tag Elite CISO and Palo Alto Networks both in your post, okay? And then submit the completion form with URL of your post. So I will show you once we have posted on LinkedIn, you have to take that URL and submit it in a form. I will explain how that looks like. And I think that's about it, pretty simple. So all you got to do is follow Elite CISO's handle, follow Palo Alto handle, and then upload your certificate with the learnings that you will get from this session, and then tag Elite CISO and Palo Alto Network. That's about it. And then you have to just take that URL and submit a Google form that I will share. Now, if you simply say great session Palo Alto Network, great session Elite CISO, that's not going to work, okay? I will show you a quick sample from a previous contest that we did. So this post by Kamal Gurnani ji is from a previous session that we did with Rubrik, okay? He has done a excellent write-up and he was one of the winner for Apple Airport. So what the contest is, again, upload the certificate, tag Elite CISO, tag Palo Alto Network, Rubrik over here from the previous session. So you have to tag Elite CISO, Palo Alto Network and post your learnings. So take good notes, okay? Another example is from Ashish Mishra, my very good friend from Bangalore, Director Information Security at Unilever. So what he has done, uploaded the certificate, shared the post so that others can also learn by reading the post, and then tag Elite CISO, tag Rubrik, or in this session, you will have to tag Palo Alto Networks. You don't really have to write this big if you are innovative enough, okay? How innovative enough? Upkar ji from Delhi chapter, he has written a very short post, right? For Rubrik, he has defined in such a way that the word rubric itself means or reflects the learning from the session. So that's what you got to do. I'm not saying you have to write big paragraph. It could be a short one as well. So that's about how how your post should look like. Okay. So that's what I have explained. And now if you have to do all of this, right, you have to think very sharp. You have to be very attentive. And you know, if you have been attending our session, what I'm getting to. So the next thing is stand and attend challenge. That's what we throw in all our sessions that we do. So something phenomenal has happened in past so many millenniums, right? Human race has gone through evaluation and we have started to walk as a Homo sapiens, right? Now, what happened in past few years or past few decades, we have lost that standing posture. We have gone to a sitting kind of posture, which is killing us, right? So if you're sitting the entire day while you are in office, or if you're in lockdown, you're sitting a lot at home, you will get a foggy brain, you will have sore shoulders, heart disease and all, and you will not be able to think sharp. So what we do is we throw this challenge, which is stand and attend. So if you stand while attending the session, you will think sharper and you might also win Apple AirPod because you are thinking sharper, you are taking good notes. Okay. So I am also standing, guys. You can see for the entire 1 hour, I'm going to stand and I'm throwing this challenge to you all as well, who are sitting comfortably on on their chair, right? So if you accept this challenge, put it on the chat, yes, that you are accepting this challenge. And this challenge is not only for participants, it is for the panelists as well. So I think Vicky is also standing. So that's great. Awesome, Vicky. Thanks a lot. And Deepak, get up, stand. Amit as well. Very nice, very nice. So chat is blinking. I see a lot of people are excited about it and accepting the challenge. So awesome, guys. Kudos on that. Great, great, Deepak. Thanks a lot. Okay, guys, good luck. Next, the quiz is going to come. So be attentive. It is going to be a very quick 2-question quiz and it is fastest finger first. So if you know the answer, type it as quickly as possible on the chat. Do not put it on Q&A tab, put it on chat and send it to all participants and all panelists. Okay. Here comes the first question. So the first question is, how much was the first documented variant of ransomware asked as ransom? So you have to put a dollar value. What was the amount that a first ransomware asked for? 1 million, 2 million, $100. No, 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 not 10 million. Very first ransomware variant. 30 seconds are going to be over and I'm going to the next question now. So the first documented ransomware asked only $189. Kamal Gurnani has got the right answer. That's what I saw, but we will go through the chat. So the first ransomware, first documented ransomware was AIDS ransomware, AIDS ransomware. It only asked $189 to be transferred in a postal box in Panama. Okay. And that spread through floppy disk. I think a lot of people have Googled it and now the right answers are coming. So that's great. Okay, guys, the next one. I'm sure you learned something new by this quiz as well. Name the famous tool written by French researcher Benjamin Delphi that can dump Windows passwords. Let me see. No, not Metasploit. Mimikatz. Very good, very good.
Good one.
Rahul got the answer, I think. We will go through the chat and we'll see which one is the first one. But yeah, Mimikatz is the tool written by Benjamin Delphi, French researcher. This tool can dump clear text password from Windows memory. Okay. I think I've gone a little bit overhead today. It's 5:13 right now. So I've taken about 12 minutes instead of 5. Sorry for that. With this, let me transfer it over to Mr. Arnab from Palo Alto. Arnab sir, over to you. Please take it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Vikas. Can you stop sharing the screen so that I can?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Let me present. Okay. I hope my screen is visible. So as you know, the agenda of the webinar today is best practices for stopping ransomware. I'll be the moderator today, but before we actually go there, I just wanted to set the context by showing you some of the key trends from some of the very known cybersecurity organizations, as well as some key media. Everybody talks about ransomware in 2021 as a cyber weapon of choice, ransomware being available as a service. You don't have to actually create ransomware. You can actually buy it now as a service. And by the way, Kaseya ransomware is part of Revil, which was done by Revil, which is basically ransomware as a service only. And there are organizations which are calling that ransomware will continue to be the #1 threat. And Palo Alto Networks has actually made a statement that proliferation of ransomware as a service has made ransomware attacks significantly more accessible, simple, and effective. And Revil demanded around mind-boggling $70 million USD to underquote set everyone free, as they called it. So one of the key biggest things that I could actually think of was that the impact, 1,500 companies impacted by Kaseya ransomware attack alone. That is a massive, massive impact that we have seen in recent times. And what is happening is that the good guys are losing. All the attacks in the past actually show the incremental value of the damage that these attacks cause. And that is why we wanted to have this session today, which is best practices for stopping ransomware, so that we can talk about the things that actually can help us in 2021 to protect against ransomware. What I wanted to actually do is to introduce the team. Rishi Rajpal, everybody knows, is there with us as one of the esteemed panelists. We have a 2-member panel today. The other person is Vicky Ray. He's the threat researcher from Unit 42 of Palo Alto. And I would request Vicky to actually introduce himself to the panel. I just wanted to take a minute to introduce you to Cortex, where I come from. I manage the Cortex sales for North India and Bangladesh as well. The Cortex is basically the holistic platform from Palo Alto Networks that actually talks about securing the security operation center of the future. We are talking about holistic approach that we take from the endpoint, which is basically transforming the erstwhile endpoint detection and response to extended detection and response, which you can see we take the data not only from endpoints but from network and their cloud services and take into a data lake where we actually ingest all the data and give you enhanced visibility. And then we have got something called Cortex XOR, which is basically our acquisition of Demisto, where we do all the security orchestration, automation, and response by reducing 95% of the repeated activities that your SOC analysts have to do on day-to-day basis, helping them deliver on the things that you expect them to deliver and not wasting time on doing some of the mundane repeated activities, which are very, very common in security operation centers. Apart from these two main modules of the platform, we also have Cortex Expanse, which is basically our attack surface management, which gives you enhanced visibility of your threat surface that attackers are seeing from outside in perspective. And then all of this actually bundled with some of the amazing services, which are managed threat hunting and our partner-led managed detection and response. That's a very brief of what Cortex is all about, because Palo Alto is known about next generation firewalls so well for last decade and more. I just wanted to give you a brief on the Cortex as well. Now I will stop sharing my screen and I will request Rishi and Vicky to actually help us today demystify this ransomware. And before we do that, Vicky, I would like you to actually introduce yourself, and so that we can start. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Arnav. It's such a pleasure to be part of the Elite CISO session again. I know I did this several years ago, and really very glad to be part of this today. And thanks everyone for joining in. It's a Saturday, but as Vikas said, it's a great opportunity for us to discuss on very important issues, and it's nothing like discussing that on a Saturday evening for me, as I'm in Singapore, and it's just 10 minutes to 8. So again, I wanted to thank also the Elite CISO team, Vikas, to really give us that opportunity and to share a lot of things what we are doing in Palo Alto Networks, Unit 42, our team. So from my perspective, I lead the intelligence arm of Unit 42 for the Asia Pacific region. A lot of our work revolves around really tracking, key, like active threats, and also kind of sharing that with the community. And a lot of the research, what we do, of course, our main goal is to ensure that Palo Alto Networks customers are secured, so that the products and everything has that intelligence as soon as possible. We've also built a lot of automation and on what we do. The other thing which I also wanted to share is that our team has another role which we don't really discuss widely in the community. Basically, we share a lot of intelligence with law enforcement, with certs globally, and we have in fact had several successful cases where we were, our investigations were pivotal in kind of putting cyber criminals behind bars. So a lot of things we do, eventually affects the globe, in a good way. So, I'll stop my introduction here and, go to Rishi. Yeah. You're on mute, Arnav. Thanks.
Arnav, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rishi, everybody knows you, but it would be great if you can also introduce yourself for the broader audience.
Yeah, hi friends. I think nice to be here. But I'll cover since we all are on the receiving side of it, so we'll discuss. I know everybody has some best practices, but I'll share mine in this panel, how we are combating these threats on a routine basis. We know that it's not something occasional now. We deal with it on a daily basis. So we'll share some of the best practices.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. Vicky, let me start by actually asking you this very important question. As you saw the slide, why is it so difficult to stop ransomware in 2021? We have seen ransomware in the past, but why it is so difficult even now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I get this question a lot. Of course, we have seen ransomware, affecting organizations, and it's been there for many years. I mean, it was just another type of malware which can cause some impact and damage. But over the past 2 years, especially, we have seen a huge rise of these campaigns, and the damage and destruction being caused is quite alarming, to say the least. I mean, the damages, as you have highlighted, some of the ransoms have now gone to records like 70 million. But what has changed is several years ago, or we have seen ransomware, the amount being asked was typically in the amount of 10,000. Of course, we have been tracking those cases, and we knew that the amount would grow. But we need to understand what tactics have changed from the bad guy perspective. So a lot of times what has happened is ransomware was used by cyber criminals, and they just went on randomly smash and grab techniques. So they would just target an organization. They would not care like how big the organization, who the organization is. If they find a vulnerability, they would just deploy the ransomware, and then there would be a ransom asked. So of course that has been profitable, but what has really ballooned is, I think you had mentioned briefly, Arnav, is the rise of RAS campaigns, which is ransomware as a service. So what that has enabled is, while there are many developers or authors of these of these ransomwares, they are building those tools and they are now selling it to other criminals for them to go and target other victims, right? So the people who are behind authoring or developing these tools, they are not really doing the attacks themselves. They are allowing other criminals to use their platform, and they've really matured their platform in a big way. It's become a really big business. Of course, when you're talking about millions of dollars, it has to be a very professional kind of business, right? So what is happening is they're selling this to other criminals who are called as affiliates. So these affiliates, like, when they have seen that many other criminals are making a lot of millions, other criminals who maybe in the cyberspace doing some other, criminal work, they of course see that how much profitable it can be, and they also become affiliates. So how this really works is there are some key players in the RAS ecosystem. Of course, I mentioned one is the developer. Second is the affiliate who actually buys that platform or rents the platform and targets the victims. Third has also, these are actually called basically service providers to the affiliates, right? So service providers, or they also are known as the ransomware consultants. So there are people who are doing a lot of homework for the affiliates. For example, they are identifying who is vulnerable, how large that organization is, who are there, who are on the executive level, who are making those decisions, how profitable that company is. So they do a lot of this homework, right? So this enables the affiliate to become more successful in this business, because many affiliates are not great. How should I say it? They may not have zero-day exploits, and we can see here a lot of these gangs are now employing zero-day attacks to target large organizations. So these service providers or ransomware consultants may provide that, and they do a lot of the work in terms of even the negotiations. For example, once an organization is compromised, they get to the negotiation phase. And affiliates are not that business minded; they are not experienced. But these guys, the service provider or the ransomware consultants, they are very, very professional. And when we look at who gets what, let's say take an example of some victim may have paid $1 million. The affiliate, of course, takes the largest cut, almost like 70% on an average. 60 to 70%, I would say. Then the second largest cut actually goes to the service provider, or sometimes even they have almost a 40% share out of the entire. So the service provider takes a big share. The third one, of course, the developer gets the smallest share. But as you know, this is a big business. They are getting a lot of business from other affiliates. So eventually, there's a lot of profit made by everyone. So just kind of summarizing that this is the main reason why ransomware has become so profitable than what it was in the past.
Yeah. Thanks, Vicky. I think first 5 minutes, I've got a lot of insights that I never had. Wow. So shifting gears, Rishi, this is very interesting. Now you are not against few people. You're against an industry here. But I would like to have a CISO's perspective to this. Typically, how big is this concern for an organization as complex as yours? And of course, there are many peers of you sitting here today, or rather standing here today. What is your perspective on this ransomware threat? And please also, as a part B of the question, I would like to know how this has moved to the board level conversations in your organizations. If you can throw some light there as well.
Sure enough. So basically, I'll just put some figures, and these are predictions for 2021, right?
Yeah.
So in 2021, the cybercrime damage is expected to be 6 trillion, and which comes to about 190K per second, which comes to about 685K per hour, which means by the time we will finish this webinar, 685K somebody would have lost to cybercrime, right? So that's the kind of volume we're talking about. Having said that, there's a lot of awareness at the board, and people who are doing ERMs, which is enterprise risk management. Cybersecurity threat is at the top, right? And good for us that board is aware. Good for us, the management is aware. You don't have to continuously sell products, right? You don't have to sell fear in the company to ask for investments because the threat is real. It's in the news already. Initially, security team was tagged as that they are in the business of fear. They'll create fear and get funding, right? That's not there anymore because we are seeing real threats materializing. And when you are operating a large organization, obviously there is a whole ecosystem that you're managing. Then you have third-party suppliers which have connectivity to you. Then you have customers which have connectivity to you. And then you have your own network, which means that if anyone in the ecosystem gets impacted, the damage can be much large. And if you look at the ransomware threats from past, I would say 2 quarters, they're just trying to infect something which will have a larger impact. And that's where supply chain became a big thing, right? Because the sooner they can reach a larger audience, the larger can be ransom. So I think I'm seeing it very changing. They're no longer after mid-sized organizations, especially the big ones. They are just looking at a hub model that can I infect the hub and I'll get money from spokes as well.
Yeah, of course. That's what we see. Very right, Rishi. Vicky, Rishi mentioned a very important point in supply chain, and in the initial discussion also we were discussing this. We are seeing more techniques like supply chain attacks when people are asking for ransomware. Kaseya is one, SolarWinds was the other, Microsoft Exchange zero-day exploit that we saw. Can you throw some light on what is happening that these supply chain attacks have become so prevalent and relevant in today's ransomware attacks?
Yeah, I mean, supply chain attacks are, I would say, one of the biggest concerns. Of course, the impact from supply chains can be very devastating, and that's what we have seen with Kaseya. But I just wanted to highlight, SolarWinds was not a ransomware attack. Basically, SolarWinds really had it was a nation state, attack. But however, SolarWinds really put this supply chain issue right in the front, right? Of course, we have been talking about supply chain attacks, but it's critical to understand that these bad guys, whether it is ransomware gangs or some more sophisticated nation state attacks, they realize the impact from the impact from supply chain attacks can be much bigger at scale, right? Because the fundamental thing which is exploited here is trust. And when we are talking about trust, we have seen a lot of these supply chain attacks can have a ripple effect. So in the sense, when somebody has a good security, whether it is from a technology perspective or a practice perspective, everyone does the right thing. For example, even as we are all cybersecurity professionals here, we know about the typical hygiene. But let's say, I'm just giving an analogy here, that if one of the cybersecurity guys is compromised, let's say his email has been compromised or the endpoint is compromised, and that person sends an email. I'm just giving an example. There are a lot of people here, and that group gets an email. But we all know each other. We have a certain trust built, right? So that is being exploited. And even though we are cybersecurity professional, maybe we'll click on that link. Maybe we'll, and in this case, it's a bit different. Here, of course, we're talking about technology. Like for Kaseya, basically, there was a 0-day on their platform, their web service. The bad guys, as I was saying, they have become much more sophisticated and much more capable. They now have access to 0 days as well. So they exploited Kaseya platform, and then they send the update, which had the ransomware basically. But if we really now unpacked even that update, we see that it was a DLL sideloading type of attack. And I hope you guys, a lot of people who are here should mention this, because on your LinkedIn update later, but this DLL sideloading attack we have been tracking for a long time. These have been coordinated by many sophisticated nation state attacks, but now these are also these techniques are being used by the cyber criminals, and this is not what we have seen being done in the past. So they've become much more capable, and when they use DLL sideloading, they have a better chance to infect, and that's how that number which you showed, Arnav, earlier, about 15,000, at least. I think the numbers may be much higher, because Kaseya mentioned 15,000, but the impact was much bigger. And some of these MSPs and some customers, like for example, they had 800 global stores was completely inoperable for a week. So you can imagine the damage and destruction being caused, right? So really these supply chain issues has such a big impact, and this allows the bad guys to put pressure on the victims, so that they can monetize that impact as soon as possible. And if I can just add to that, like
please,
these, like in the traditional modus operandi in the past, ransomware operators, as I was saying, they typically went on smash and grab. Now what they're doing is, once they get into a system into a network, or even some of the systems within the network, they lay low, they understand the victim environment, they laterally move. They just don't get in and deploy a ransomware. No, they understand what's the backup process of the organization. Where are the sensitive data? Where are the crown jewels of the organization? They spend enough time, they learn about it, and then once they steal, so what they also do is, they not only identify, they steal that data, right? And then they deploy the ransomware, and they put a pressure on the victims by saying, by actually letting them know that if they don't pay up, all of their sensitive data, the crown jewels of the organization, will be leaked in the dark web. And this is something which they are also managing in the dark web. Is the websites are typically called leak sites, right? So basically all of these ransomware as a service gangs, they are now also called double extortion gangs. So basically they infect a system or the network, they ask the ransom, and also they would leak the data. And sometimes some victims have also got DDoS attacks at the same time. So so as much as pressure being put on a victim, there are maybe chances for the victim to pay up. So and of course we are seeing that it's become very profitable for them.
Obviously.
So yeah,
$70 million definitely is profitable. So Rishi, you mentioned supply chain attacks, but has it forced you to rethink the way you have been deploying some of the technologies in your environment? Because people are the attackers are using those technologies to somehow attack you. So is there a rethink of the strategy or in the evaluation of technologies?
Yeah, and there are a couple of branches to it, right? Obviously, third-party assessments and governance is a little diluted subject in large organizations because you don't have a never good handle on how many suppliers that you're using, right? Which have a direct update.
Yeah.
Obviously, that needs to be tightened up, but that is more of proactive side. But how do you prevent if something like this happens? Your endpoints, your controls have to be built on endpoints. Now, no offense to any signature-based products, but I think they were there for a reason. We were using fax earlier. We don't use it any now, right? We use email. So endpoint products have come afar, and that's the reason we hear about AI ML-based tools on the endpoint, right? So basically, we used to get signatures. It was once in 24 hours. It became once in 12 hours, and then became 4 times in a day, right? Which is like 6 hours you get one signature. Now, if you look at a metric, how much time a ransomware takes to spread in your network, and when I say spread in your network means you could have the largest of the network with 200,000 nodes. The metric is 1 hour 58 minutes. So they will never ever be able to catch up, right? Second, signatures are there for the bad things. And as Vicky was talking about, once the RAS or the adversary has put in an infection on your network, after that, it is handed over to a person who is sitting with a keyboard, right? And he is not running a payload. He is running genuine tools to extract that data, right? Which will never, ever be caught by the signature-based tools. That will only be caught by behavioral-based protections, okay? So I've seen cases, and I can talk about a very good use case where people are, we say that everything starts with a fish. People have started using other vectors. We talked about supply chain. I can talk about CRM tools, where CRM tools are being used, which are biggies in this world, where infected files are kept. People click on it and they get infected. So unless and until you're capturing the behavior at the endpoint, you won't be able to stop these attacks. So let me take an example. For an end user, why would he run a proc dump command? An end user, he'll never run a proc dump command. So if he's running the command, then obviously there's something fishy. Why he will use a registry command to dump the system hive? He should never be using that command. Why will he run an encoded PowerShell? He will never use that command, right? So that is where you tackle the incident and prevent it from happening. Now that's where signature-based to EDR, and from EDR to XDR, the journey has gone. So if you look at the AVs, they couldn't catch it. EDR could catch it, but the mean time to catch was really high. And then became XDR, then they could catch it and prevent it and still give you an alert. So that's the evolution of the endpoints I'm talking about.
Okay, that's very interesting. In fact, Vicky, I just want you to, as Rishi mentioned, the behavior. It's not the signature, but you have to detect the behavior. Now, can you for the benefit of our audience, can you actually you explained Kaseya in little detail, but can we dig deeper into what was the modus operandi of in the Kaseya ransomware attack? Can you throw some light on that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, from Kaseya perspective, you know, the gang actually used a 0 day to target the Kaseya platform, the Kaseya's platform, right? So from there, they pushed an update to all the kind of Kaseya MSPs, a lot of MSPs who were using the Kaseya tool to manage their customers. So you see the ripple effect, right? And then from those MSPs, even other customers were infected. So basically, again, as I was saying, I think I mentioned about the DLL side loading attack, and I see a question was also raised on that. Basically, what happens in a DLL side loading attack, this happened at the last stage. So Microsoft's Defender, you know, this was an old Defender binary. It was used to load the malicious DLL of the ransomware. So when a defender, that binary may be known from a hash perspective, and some, endpoints may just look at it. Oh, this is a clean process. They may miss it. But again, as I think, just going back to the very important points made by Rishi, it's all about the behavior, right? It's essential that. Of course, I'm not saying signatures are not important at all. They are still relevant. It is known, and technology should be able to block it. But where it goes, and I can't highlight the importance of the things which Rishi just mentioned, is that behavior. If a certain environment operates outside of the norm, then the technology needs to take over and ensure that that doesn't happen, right? We can get more into the weeds of Kaseya, but a lot of the information has not been shared, and we will know more about the intricacies of the incidents. But this is what is known. The other aspect is a lot of the victims, Kaseya received a decryptor just very recently, and they are sharing it with all the victims. And we are not sure if the decryptor was, if a ransom was paid, or there was a certain action taken by law enforcement agencies or certain governments against the actors, because their leak sites was down. So Revil, which is R-Evil, some people call R-Evil or Revil, their infrastructure is currently down. So we don't know if there is some action taken. Great, nothing like it. But as of now, we don't have further intel on that. But again, just to highlight, behavior is it's hugely important. And I can bring back the topic of SolarWinds. I know we are not talking anything outside of ransomware is the main one, but SolarWinds, what even Palo Alto Networks was targeted, was one of the key targets of these individuals or of these sophisticated group who were behind the SolarWinds hack. So we, XDR, Cortex XDR was the one which prevented or really stopped that attack in its tracks, because we had a behavioral rule which was reaching out. I mean, I can get into really on the weeds like Cobalt Strike behavior and things like that, but it's going to take another 10-15 minutes. But this is where behavior is so important, and that's how we were able to block that block our organization against that attack. And many other cybersecurity vendors had fallen for that, but we were successful in thwarting it. So behavior is so important.
That's really insightful, Vicky. But Rishi, let's switch gears. Let's actually come to brass tacks now. Now, how is your organization or your peers, when you sit in your peer circles, how are they gearing up to respond to this highly sophisticated attack, which is actually stemmed from behavior, and there's no signature, as you rightly said, created to actually stop it. Apart from the AI ML thing that you're putting in one of the technologies, what are the other things that you're doing as part of the best practices in your organization, which our esteemed audience can actually leverage as well?
Yeah, and as security professionals, I think all of us would agree, the main target for us is mean time to respond, and continues to reduce mean time to respond. Yeah. And where you are in your security journey and how mature you are in your security journey, you will eventually realize that you cannot really rely on humans to reduce the mean time to respond. It is better done by machines once you train the machine to do it, right? And that's where I'm bringing another angle of SOAR, right? Yeah. And how these technologies should talk to each other. So for example, Vicky talked about the BIOC rules, which were in place for the advanced attack. Yeah. Now, sometimes the BIOC rules will be in the detect stage, and sometimes they will be in the prevent stage. Obviously, visibility and detection go hand in hand. Now, is your environment trained enough to, if you're finding IOCs on your network which are detected, is your environment mature enough to go ahead, shoot a command at that machine, contain that machine, and bring a report back to your SOC saying the 5 machines were found and they have been successfully contained and now available for you for doing a basic triage, right? I mean, that's where, so the platform needs to talk, right? So the better value that you can get out of the platform is then you have to stitch the story together. So it has to be endpoint protecting you. And if you have detection capabilities on the endpoint, there's something there to basically prevent that attack from happening and contain it, right? So 1-10-60 rule is very popular these days, right? 1 minute to detect, 10 minutes to remediate, and 60 minutes to respond. I think if you need to be part of that journey, obviously you need to invest in tools and technology. And it all depends where you are in the security journey.
Yeah. Are you also looking at some of these frameworks which are generally available, like MITRE? Do you see MITRE attack framework and other frameworks that are there in the market? Do they really help? Are you aligning your technologies? Because most of the OEMs today are talking about aligned to them, including us, of course.
Yeah. So MITRE is a very common framework, right? TTPs and everything is captured there. Obviously, when we evaluate our endpoint products, MITRE is the baseline. We also look at CIS benchmark, and then we also look at NIST. But when you look at a technology, which is, it is predominantly MITRE and non-profit. So I think there are no frills attached to it. So it is very critical that we get an independent opinion from a standard like this.
That's very interesting. Vicky, my question is, how does aligning to these the technologies to the likes of frameworks like MITRE ATT&CK help organizations? Can you throw some light? What is the brainchild behind all the technology OEMs, including Palo Alto, talking about why your products should actually align to these networks? As Rishi rightly mentioned, these are non-profit. These are actually for our use. Consumers really benefit from these. But what is happening behind this so that we can actually definitely enlighten our audience as well? Why technologies are after this MITRE ATT&CK framework?
Sure, absolutely, and you know, it's really good to see you know, the acceptance of MITRE globally, and many people don't know that my manager now, she was one of the main founders of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So she works for Unit 42 now. But you know, MITRE started that because they realized several years ago that just signature-based ability to detect against attacks is not really proactive. It's just reactive, right? It is not. Only if you understand the TTPs of the bad guys can you really take that attack against them, or you know, defend against their future attacks also much effective, right? So how can we really you know, ensure that no, of course we should have reactive capabilities. We should block things, and you know, we discussed about signatures. But if we understand the TTPs, the tools being used, the tactics being used, you know, right now you can also visualize the pyramid of pain, right? So signatures and typical domain names used by bad guys and all are right at the bottom. But if you really go up the ladder and are able to defend against attacks from a TTP perspective, you have a better chance. And I just wanted to also give an example. Very recently, actually this week, I was talking to a prospect. You know, they were asking me that, you know, I already have a solution which can detect ransomware, so I don't really have to. You know, I have a solution which can detect ransomware. But a lot of people may think that, oh, they may have an endpoint which can detect a hash or a sample or a known malware. But it is important to understand the modus operandi of these bad guys, right? So how are they coming in? How are they? What is the initial attack vector? You know, how are they laterally moving? Are they exploiting, you know, a backup server internally? So as organizations, as we build these playbooks, we need to be very clear, or at least have an understanding of how this is being coordinated by the bad guys. So once we learn that, Then we create our defensive postures accordingly. And, Rishi mentioned about XOR and SOAR. And this is where we are also, kind of sharing a lot of playbooks for SOAR, basically a pattern would arise when you understand how these bad guys are coming. A lot of times, these guys are not really, many times they are not exploiting 0 days. They are actually just buying credentials in the cybercrime underground on exposed infrastructure. For example, a lot of companies are going, remotely working. RDPs are a big concern, even though many people think, oh, I may have, but what is the visibility? Sometimes some DevOps guy may have created an infrastructure which is exposed, where your network is connected to that device. Do you have the visibility if something like that happens immediately in real time, which will alert that there is a system which was which is in production and it is exposed to the internet? And what is that state? So this is where a lot of that, things which Rishi was mentioning about, that visibility, holistic approach, where the technologies are talking to each other, and if something happens, can we automate that work rather than rely on a certain individual to take action, right? So if you understand that, you build those processes. Again, we can talk about PPT now, people, process, technology. Awareness is important. We create that awareness. And this is, again, a mechanism for us to share that what's really happening. Awareness is there. People are understanding how this is happening, and then building those processes and ensuring the process is supported by technology. And this is where, about Rishi highlighted XOR, endpoints, and also, the cloud. Everything needs to talk to each other.
Yeah, so I think I get a sense that both Rishi and you are talking about enhancing the visibility of your own environment as much as possible using these technologies. And Rishi so beautifully articulated how you have to move from just endpoint to all the technologies to actually reduce the mean time to respond. I have another follow-up question with you, Vicky, on this. How we can actually help our consumers being aware. Are there any ransomware readiness assessments, or how they should be going about leveraging those kind of services?
Sure. I mean, there are a couple of things which we are doing from Unit 42 side, Palo Alto Network side aspect, right? Like, number one is we are publishing a lot of threat assessments. We are publishing to the public, so everyone, not only our customers, everyone can utilize that. We are sharing threat assessments in terms of how these guys are operating. This is where MITRE attack, some of those behaviors we are sharing. If organizations understand that, and if they know that they are able to detect against or defend against those behaviors, they are able to assess themselves, right? So we are doing that. We are publishing indicators of compromise, and proactively sharing as much as possible. Secondly, what we have done is, a couple of months back, we came up with an assessment called as the Ransomware Readiness Assessment. This is where we are providing this to our customers, and especially this was found because of the large impact we are talking about from ransomware. This was needed because we understand that a lot of big organizations, maybe they have the tools, but maybe it is not configured well. Who knows? Maybe they don't have the right process. So this assessment really goes into the details of an individual organization's capability to handle, let's say, if they become a victim or they are being targeted. Like, do they have the right process in place? Do they have the playbooks in place? How well they are prepared? Do they have the technology in place? So that assessment is done, and there are tabletop exercises. This is very important. Maybe some organization may do one exercise annually, but these exercises are essential to do from a ransomware perspective. And to the details where we are going, in fact, if an organization does that thoroughly, they can even prevent many other sophisticated attacks. So we do that. Of course, we also get into from an endpoint perspective, we proactively do threat hunting using XDR, really understanding the behaviors and also seeing if there are artifacts within an environment. So there are different aspects we are coming up with to help our customers. So yeah, there's a lot happening.
Very interesting. In fact, so you're saying gaining visibility, not only tools, you can actually leverage some of these services as well. Rishi, this brings me to a very, very important point where we all know that we have to prepare for the worst while hope for the best. How much importance would you like to give to uh, reactive threat teams also, be it in-house, be it incident response? How are you looking at it from a day-to-day activities? Of course, it's like an insurance, but how important that has become as part of the best practices that you follow in your organization?
Very, very important, right? So we can buy all the tools, all the fancy tools of the world, but at the end of the day, they have to be configured well, right? And they have to be fed and they have to be fine-tuned. And sometimes we may have the fanciest of the technology, but if not configured well, let me take an example, right? The easiest route you can take by deploying any endpoint AI/ML based tool is there is a business outage and you whitelist. There is a business outage and you whitelist. There is a business outage and you whitelist because you wanted to come out of that outage. Somehow the business took precedence over security. And then you say, oh shit, let me just whitelist any desk because people are not able to click to remote. And when the attack happened, you are just like sitting like this. Why did I whitelist any desk or TeamViewer for that matter, right? Yeah. And we all face this day in, day out. And I'm sure a lot of my friends would agree to this. But, and that's where these teams' importance came in. They show you the mirror, right? They'll tell you that you have the fanciest technology, but here is I could penetrate. So very, very important.
And what about the reactive things like post-attack, post-successful attack, incident response? Are you investing in those kind of things?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's an insurance. Everybody has life insurance. This is equally important, right? Get a retainer on board. If not, that's my advice. As critical as health insurance, right? That's because when you are in trouble and you raise a red flag and you don't have a retainer, you are in a big, big trouble, right? You can't hold somebody for the response time. You reach out to people and say, I need people. Then they are busy in other engagements because most of the time what will happen is if there's an attack on you, there is a highly chance that 100 other companies are also attacked and the researchers are busy. So unless you've got that commitment upfront, it is very difficult at that time.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. I think that really is the crux. You need the resources when you really need them. Vicky, that brings me to requesting you to actually conclude by summarizing some of the your perspective on the best practices for specifically focused on ransomware.
Arnav, I think we lost your audio.
Yeah, we can't hear Arnav. So Vicky, I think he was asking about you to summarize the...
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Arnav. I mean, again, the number one thing, as we kind of discussed it several times, is visibility, right? A lot of times we need to ensure that how exposed an organization is, and from as an end user perspective, we need to have the visibility of outside in approach. Have that visibility, have a good backup process at place. Why I say that is, even though an organization is targeted and they are negotiating maybe with the bad guys, but having a good offline backup will ensure that the business is still running. So backups are still not irrelevant. It's still relevant. Make sure that a good assessment is done, right? Organizations need to understand and ensure that they have a good understanding of the new changes in the modus operandi of these bad guys and others, of course. And ensure that they have the PPT, people, process, and technology aligned to this. This is hugely important. And we are talking about tabletop exercises regularly, almost, I would say, at least in a minimum, at least on a quarterly basis, people need to have these tabletop exercises within an organization, specifically for ransomware attacks. And Rishi mentioned retainers. In fact, we are also providing retainers for as part of the RRA from Palo Alto Networks, which provides 50 hours of incident response if needed. And this is this is an insurance, right? Like if anything happens, there are individuals who are experienced at that and can assist you. But yeah, really, again, just to very quickly end this, that you need to have a good grasp of how these bad guys are operating and really build your defenses where you have a good visibility and where your defensive technology can talk to each other and ensure that the process is there and the technology is there to support that process. So, yeah.
Thanks, Vicky. Rishi, I would love to have your closing remarks and some of the best practices that you think are very, very important from today's discussion, if you can summarize as well.
Yeah, I just keep it short. I think backups are still key, right? Invest in preventive, but do not ignore detections, right? Make a playbook, if not already, and playbook should be extensive enough. And when I say extensive enough, means do not think that ransomware has impacted you. Think it has impacted your service provider. Think it has impacted your customer, and you are connected. What will be your steps if your customer or a supplier gets impacted? How would you block the network? What ports you will look at? So all those playbooks should be ready, and bring in as much automation as you can to respond to a threat.
Absolutely awesome. And with this, I think I'll hand it over to Vikas. Thank you really, Vicky and Rishi, for sharing the insights today. I am sure there are a lot of things that will be posted on LinkedIn, right, Vikas?
Yeah, I hope so. Great session, Vicky, great session, Rishi. Great insights that we got today. I also learn every time we conduct these sessions. So wonderful insights. So I think let's get to Q&A. It is 6:03. We still have time. So guys, go ahead, raise your hand and we will unmute you if you want to ask live questions. So I see 2 hands are raised and they are raised since beginning. So Mr. Jagmohan Singh and Sridhar Sahu. If you don't have a question, please lower your hand. Otherwise, I will unmute you.
There are a couple in the panel as well, I see.
You can look at those questions as well. Meanwhile, if you want to ask live questions, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Great. Unique has raised hand. So Unique, you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Vikas. Really, it is a great session and there is a lot of learning. Rishi, you have mentioned, about the ransomware attacks which are happening when there are tools which are very well used by the organization for the remote purpose, right? For the remote control, like AnyDesk, TeamViewer. So, what is your recommendation? What kind of tools are required to be used by the organizations?
Unique, I'm not actually endorsing any product here, but let me tell you our learnings. We have gone away with AnyDesk TeamViewers. They're banned in our organizations because of the inherent vulnerabilities that they've got. But there are a lot of reputed products available where you can pay and get your remote, and especially from a help desk perspective, they're predominantly used in help desk. But what happens is once they are allowed on your network, they start getting abused by system administrators to take a remote control of the service. So I think, and even in the worst case scenario, Unique, you need these tools for 2 machines. You have a dependency, you have a legacy app. Go for a very, very, very selective whitelist. I mean, just don't do that across the network. But just DM me, I'll share the tools now.
Or meet tomorrow morning, right?
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Manoj Nayak, I have unmuted you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Rishi and Vicky, we know, like you talked about the Mitre framework, and many of us are also doing the red teaming exercise. I just wanted your views, red team exercise versus the new tools, those are being used by many, like simulates breach attack simulation, or tools of the fire compass or mandate tools. So which could be the very effective thing, or both the things should be used by the organizations, tools as well as the red team exercise?
Yeah, I think I'll just quickly share my perspective. Absolutely. I mean, tools and of course, red team exercises, these are hugely important. And when I was talking about assessments or risk assessments, all of this is also part of it. So when you're talking about tools, of course, those tools are part of that red team exercise when we are doing. And those tools, again, I'm not going to endorse, some tool sets, but there are, when you read these reports, you would know which red team tools they are. A lot are open source. Again, we spoke about Mimikatz. A lot of these actors actually use Mimikatz. There are so many open source tools. So definitely use open source commercial tools which are out there, and red team exercise is hugely important, in any risk assessment. And I believe almost all matured security teams are doing it, and definitely encourage that.
I don't see any other hand raised. So you want to take a couple of questions from Q&A tab? I think we have time just to take 2 questions. So pick whatever best you like, and then we'll move to the conclusion of the session.
I'm just responding in real time actually, because
cool. One question is there. I mean, do you recommend to pay ransom or not? That's what the question I just read. Pradnya has asked.
Never.
So
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, sorry, Vikas, were you saying anything else?
I was saying on a recorded session that will go on YouTube, nobody would say, yeah, pay ransom, right?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing we advise customers, definitely don't pay the ransom, because, we know for sure that, of course, yes, they may give the decryption key, but it doesn't guarantee future attacks, because even though those guys are saying that, yeah, we are not going to attack you, but again, this goes back to understanding how this business works. These are affiliates. They can use some other ransomware as a service family to target, again, the same victim. And we are aware of it, that this is happening. So because if a victim pays up, this is fueling the economy for sure. And this is where, while we never want organizations to pay up, it's a business decision at the end of the day. Also, some businesses have taken cyber insurance and let the insurance companies pay up. But even the insurance companies have realized now that the losses are significant, that even they don't want to pay up. In their clauses, they are saying if it is ransomware, they're not going to pay the insurance. So lots of things to take into
and premium have gone up like crazy, right? So
yes.
I don't know if anybody has an opportunity to do a renewal recently. The premiums have gone up, and people who feel that Bitcoins are totally anonymous, just to let you know that they can stay anonymous, but US government can track activity, means that some activity is happening on these Bitcoins. And if they realize that this is an activity and this company was impacted, the sanctions can be imposed if you pay ransom.
Yeah, that is, again, it's so important that even like some countries, like in Australia, what is happening right now is they're coming up, I guess they're looking at situations where if victims need to at least report, that they have been targeted. And it's very important, because a lot of these cases are going not being reported or underreported, so it doesn't help the authorities. And as Rishi mentioned, that it can be tracked. A lot of times when we are seeing, there are technologies out there which can track Bitcoin wallets and who's getting what share, what amount is being dispersed. And there is a money laundering aspects as well. I know that it's a short time today to discuss, but there is a money laundering aspect, because there are other players which are helping these gangs to exit, the money. So it's a big ecosystem, and if people are not reporting, unfortunately, it's not going to help the good guys. So everyone has a part to play here.
Thanks, Vicky. I mean, ransomware is such a topic that we can talk, non-stop on that. So in the interest of time, we just have 5 minutes left. Let me, one more reiterate the LinkedIn contest that we talked about in the beginning. I see about 230 people right now. So guys, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a LinkedIn contest, and 4 Apple AirPods will be given away as part of this contest. So here are the rules for the contest. So go to LinkedIn and follow Elite CISO handle. Go to LinkedIn again and follow Palo Alto handle. And then you have to share a post. The post is the learning from today's session. That's what you have to post on LinkedIn. So what has to go on LinkedIn? The participation certificate. I will show you how to download the participation certificate, and then you have to share your learnings from the session, what Vicky and Rishi have talked about in terms of defense from ransomware. So I'm sure you guys would have taken good notes and good learnings from the session. So those learnings you have to share on LinkedIn. And when you post that, ensure to tag Elite CISO and Palo Alto Networks as well. Okay. Once you have completed your post, once you have made it on LinkedIn, copy that URL and post it in a feedback or a form that I will share. Put that URL into that form and submit it. Okay. We will review, Palo Alto team and Elite CISO, we will review and pick top 4 entries, top 4 submissions, and Apple AirPods will be given away for those winners. Just to show you how the past entries from the last session look like. So this is the post from Mr. Kamal Gurnani from the rubric session. He has made this post, uploaded the certificate, tagged Elite CISO and rubric. So this session, you have to tag Elite CISO and Palo Alto Networks, right? That's how a post should look like. Now, once we have posted it, click on this guy, copy link to post. This URL you have to submit in the form. What form? This is how the form is going to look like, right? That's how the form is going to look like. So this form you have to submit, right? Your full name, your email, organization, designation, phone number, and then the LinkedIn URL that you copied, that you have to post over here and then submit it. I am going to share this form. The previous 59 entries that you see are from a rubric session that we had. So that's from the last week when we had that session. I am going to send or post the URL for this on the chat now. So I'm going to the Zoom chat and posting the URL to submit the form. So this is the URL to submit the form, the password to download certificate. Now, how do you download the certificate? Go to Elite CISO's website. Okay. The website address also I'm putting on the Zoom chat, eliteCISOs.com. So go to Elite CISO's website, go to events, come to upcoming events, and you will see the post about today's webinar that we are doing right now. Click on CPE certificate. Once you click on CPE certificate, it will take you to a form, something like this. Put your email address, put your full name, and the secret to download the certificate is fitness, FITNESS. Okay. So put this, submit this, and then you will get a certificate, something like this. So you will get a certificate like this over your email. You have to upload the certificate as part of the contest to LinkedIn, tag Elite CISO, tag Palo Alto Network, and share your learnings. Okay. I hope that is clear. If not, then put it on the chat and we will answer that. So password, Mr. Murugan is asking, fitness, FITNESS is the password. Okay. Now, once you come to Elite CISO's website to download the participation certificate, you also have the opportunity to register for the next week's webinar, which we are doing on hyperscale SIM, or how do you manage a SOC, how do you manage a SIM. It's an interesting session that we are doing with DNIF. So go ahead and register for it. Registrations are open. First 100 people to register for it will be eligible for Amazon Alexa, not Apple AirPods, Amazon Alexa for next week. Okay. I see about 221 folks right now. So it's a good opportunity to mention about the Elite CISO's membership as well. We have dedicated chapters across India, and we have separate WhatsApp groups as well, where CIOs and CISOs are members. So if you want to be in the WhatsApp group of Elite CISOs, go to the membership and submit for the membership for Elite CISOs WhatsApp groups. Now, the membership is restricted to corporate CISOs and CIOs. I see a lot of people going to the site and submitting the membership form, but we only add corporate CISOs and CIOs to our WhatsApp group just to ensure the synergies are maintained. Okay, guys, that's about it. And I think some people might wonder why fitness as a password. So Palo Alto is also our official sponsor for this year for the fitness activities that we do. You can see that I'm wearing a Palo Alto t-shirt. apart from Vicky, nobody is wearing a branded Palo Alto t-shirt, right? He's wearing a Unit 42 t-shirt. So guys from Palo Alto, come on, you guys should wear your branded t-shirts, right? Yeah, guys. So Palo Alto is our fitness sponsor. We run a very active fitness community. We have a yoga session every day morning, 6:30 to 7:30. And then we have a separate fitness group where we do, we interact around running and other fitness things. And you will see a lot of CIOs and CISOs are part of those groups, and they are posting their learnings as well. Learnings as well as their feedback and their experience with Elite CISO fitness group. So if you want to be a member of the fitness group or the yoga group, go to the Elite CISO's website, go under social initiative, CISO fitness, and then you can register. And again, these groups are restricted for CISOs and CIOs only because of the synergies that we maintain in the group. So I encourage you guys, go ahead and register for it. So that's about it. I think last thing that everybody is waiting for is Wheel of Fortune, right? This is the Wheel of Fortune that we run every time in all our sessions. Again, the giveaway for today is not Amazon Alexa, is Apple AirPods. Okay, so one winner will get Apple AirPods. Let's see who the lucky winner is going to be. So you see that there are 100 entries over here, though we got about 405 registrations for this session. But top 100 who registered, they are part of this Wheel of Fortune. I will spin it once. If you are there in this session and if your name comes, go to the chat window and say, yes, you are here. And we will share Apple AirPod with you. Okay, guys, good luck to everyone. I'm going to spin it now. Let's see. Arey wah, very nice, very nice. Preet Bhai from Delhi. Preet Bhai, you must come on camera. I think you are there. Sanjeev Lambaji is there, I know, but what about Preet Bhai? Come on, Preet Bhai, you can't miss it. Going once, going twice, gone. I don't think Preet Bhai is there. I'm going to run it again. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Preet Bhai is at Elite Theka already. Mr. Samir from DBOI. Mr. Samir is also not there. Wow, what a hard luck. I will ensure that I tell these people that you missed. Okay, I am running it one more time. And if this time your name or nobody is there, I mean to claim it, I will keep it. Okay, guys, let's see. Vijendra Sridharan, oh, very nice. From Delhi and Bangalore, both chapters, I think Mr. Vijendra is there. So Mr. Vijendra, are you there in the session right now? No, come on, guys. What are you doing? Okay, so I will keep it now. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for not showing up. I will keep the AirPods. Last chance. Oh, come on, guys. I lost my AirPods while I went for a run for Palo Alto, right? The very first run, I lost those. Okay, I'm running it one more time. Okay, guys, come on. Let's see. Mr. Kuldeep Kaushal from Delhi chapter. Mr. Kuldeep Kaushal from Delhi chapter. He's also not there. Come on, guys. I can't just keep running it. Okay, one last time. If you know, if you are not there, if your name comes, I will keep it then. Okay. This is the maximum time we have ran it. Thank God. Thank God it is Saurabh Lugnani. Thank God. He has been craving for it from past so many sessions, I believe. And he was there in the session. I saw him typing in the WhatsApp group. Oh, come on, Saurabh.
Yeah, I see him there.
He's not there. I don't see him in the chat. Oh, he's
Saurabh Gugnani.
He's there.
Yes,
He's there.
he's there. He's
Yeah,
there.
very good, very
He's
good.
there. He chatted. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me participants. Saurabh, SA, you are a BH, Gugnani. I'm going to promote him to panelist. Okay, Saurabh, come on camera and show your Aadhaar card that you are there. Are you? I think you should be able to unmute and come on camera now.
But I don't think he's there, so because
Is?
He's there.
I can't see him.
Because I'm here.
oh, Sara.
Congratulations! You must be the happiest person, I believe.
You lost 100 times and you won in the last, right?
Wonderful. Yeah. I know. Great. Okay, guys, that's about it. I
Thanks.
think we spent about 5-6 minutes more today, but a phenomenal session that we had today. Thanks, Vicky and Rishi, for sharing great insights around it. Thanks, Palo Alto team, for a wonderful session and sponsoring airports as well. Great. Thanks a lot. Bye for now, guys.
Happy weekend.
Happy
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
And do post your LinkedIn post that we talked about. There are 4 more airports to be given away. I'm sure you got the process now. If you have a problem or if you don't understand, give me a buzz on WhatsApp and I will explain it again. Okay, guys. Bye for now. Thank you.